A pre-Peach Bowl media day here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. We talked to 20 Ohio State football players today at various tables, all of us kind of mixing up. I'm Nathan Baird with cleveland.com, along with Stephen Means and Doug Lesmerises. And one of the people we want to talk to first and foremost was Mayan Williams to kind of get an update on where he stands physically. I asked him right away, hey, how you feeling? He's like, I'm ready to play. So that's important for Ohio State because he has to play because Trevion Henderson is done for the year. I tried to get a kind of pin him down on everything that's gone wrong for him this year. He's had to be especially resilient this year. It was the hand thing that happened when he got knocked out of bounds against, I don't remember which opponent that was now, actually. I think, it was Penn State. It was at Penn State. There was the ankle he rolled against IU. There was the knee thing we saw after practice one day. He's had to endure a lot of things this year, but Doug, to hear him say that he thinks he'll be 100% for the playoff is, I think, critical for Ohio State. They're about to play the best defense they've played all year, a defense that has stopped the run consistently throughout the year. They're going to need Mayan Williams not to be compromised by injury to break through that.
And you were the one who talked to him, but you were explaining to us he also admitted that he wasn't himself against Michigan, which is, I think, that's the contrast that really matters. That, and listen, guys are going to say, oh, I feel great, but he also was admitting, you guys saw him against Michigan. He couldn't plant. He couldn't cut the way he wanted to. You could tell he was favoring that ankle, and so there's going to be a different Mayan Williams. And I do think, again, as much as they've gone back and forth with Trevion Henderson and Mayan Williams this year, in the end, the bottom line is I think they need one of those two guys to be capable and healthy enough to be a lead back. So it can't be Trevion, so it has to be Mayan. But it feels like there's actual reason to believe that can be true, and then you fill in behind that. However you need to, with Chip Trayanum, with Dallin Hayden, with however you do that. But if you think we can give the ball to Mayan Williams 15 to 18 times against Georgia, and he can be his best version, the guy who ran through three people to score a touchdown against Northwestern, that guy, I think it's possible that all of us, all of you, might underestimate how important that is going to be. Because that is just not something that they've had consistently through the back two-thirds of the year. And a healthy Mayan Williams, I think, will have a chance to make a huge difference compared to the Michigan game for this offense.
When he was even asked, hey, are we seeing this right, that there were times when you were hurt and that changes the way that you run, that you might see a hole but think, I can't plant and make that cut and hit that hole? And he said yes, that there are times when you just don't necessarily trust your body. And I think whether he had said admitted he was hurt for the Michigan game, we all saw it. You could tell he was not at 100%. It's why he didn't finish the first half of that game. And, Steven, you got an answer from Ryan Day the other day that was kind of along these lines, like that sometimes guys are banged up and sometimes guys are injured. And it compromises how they play on the field. And these 35 days from the end of the Michigan game to kickoff in Georgia are going to be huge. I was talking to Cam Brown about this. I was talking to Mike Hall about this, that there's other guys who have been banged up, and Cam Brown said he got knocked out of the Michigan game with a stinger, I think. Like, these 35 days are allowing guys to play more like they have played when they've been at their best this year.
It's almost the number one benefit of the next month. Because, yes, you're trying to prepare to beat the reigning national champions, but, I mean, we legitimately have not seen this team fully healthy. And we're not going to because Jack Smith and Jacob's not playing and Trevion Henderson's not playing. But we haven't even seen maybe close to that since the Notre Dame game. So just to have that, just to have guys healthy enough to be able to do their job, you're talking about with Mayan Williams being able to put his foot in the ground and plant. I mean, that's just doing basic running back stuff. They weren't being able to do that stuff. So that's big for a team who hasn't been able to do that. Mike Hall being healthy enough to do what a defensive tackle is supposed to do as his job, that's big for this team. And so we're talking about execution and all this other stuff that they need to be able to do to beat Georgia. Well, the first thing I do is be healthy enough to actually do those things. So since we're talking about running back, if they have one of those two guys, to Doug's point, who can do those things, it raises the ceiling so much more than what we've seen basically the entire second half of the season, because it has been a game of musical chairs in that running back room.
Did either of you get to talk to Tommy Eichenberg about his banged-up thumbs?
No, but I would assume that the answer went sort of like, good, playing.
I have thumbs.
Yeah.
He's the one guy that was here that I didn't get to check, but he's going to play regardless. Like, no chance he's not going to play. Matt Jones was not here. We didn't get an update on his status.
One up, Donovan Jackson, I did talk to him. He kind of gave this hesitant answer about it. And you know what? When they start giving hesitant answers, you have to keep an eye out for things. He's training was the word he used, but it wasn't like, hey, how is Matthew Jones working? It wasn't, yeah, he's out there with us every single day. So that's another one to maybe keep an eye on. Maybe not to the extent with Travion Henderson and Jackson, where I'm just doubtful that they play, but it is something to continue to keep an eye on, and as we get into the bowl week, maybe continue to ask about.
Yeah, and he was a guy who was a game-time decision for Michigan game and just wasn't able to play, but he was even out there doing reps before the game. But I think you were making a good point, Doug, was that it's not, missing Jackson, missing Trevion, that's one thing, but just having the guys who are available be healthy enough to play at their best, I think is a huge potential step for this team.
I mean, because guys being compromised while trying, it can be as much of a problem, right? Because sometimes I think we've seen it with the run game. It's like, okay, well, those guys are trying to go, but they can't do the things that they want to do, they're supposed to do, and then it has an effect on how the whole offense works. Jordan Hancock was also out. I don't know if anybody got to him, but that's another guy of, like, limited snaps in the Michigan game. We don't know. We'll find out. We'll be on the podcast.
Well, here's the thing. We have recorders at all these tables, even if we don't have a person there. So get the text, 614-350-3315, because when we listen back to everything, we're going to be telling you all the things that we didn't physically hear right in front of us, but we're hearing it later in our ear holes and putting it into your eye holes with the texts, and then listen to it with your ear holes on the Buckeye Talk podcast, which we're going to record later today. Get that wherever you can find podcasts.